Hello. Today I'm going to talk about microphones. It's taken me a long time to do this video. I've been running into enormous technical problems with my equipment here. In particular, I've been getting a lot of mains noise, which has even been going out on my transmissions. I've got rid of most of it now, but I've still got a little bit, and it shows up on some of these videos. But it all came from one of these gadgets for sending the internet down the mains leads. A little while ago I bought a bargain FreeSat satellite receiver and restored it, repaired it, and it needed a connection to the internet. And I thought the easiest way to do it would...
This is Holyhead Coast Guard. For the Maritime Safety Information Broadcast, listen VHF channel 64, channel 64.
Thank you.
This is Holyhead Coast Guard, out.
Thank you. That's the Coast Guard. Another toy which I'm working on, a marine band radio I'm restoring. But anyway, as I was saying, this satellite receiver, it needed an internet connection, and I thought the easiest and quickest way would be to use one of these devices that sends it over the power line. And I didn't realise how much interference it would cause on my CB equipment. I thought, oh, it's only a low power device over the mains leads. But when I put the scope on my 12 volt power line going into the CB, I was getting noise spikes of half a volt. Now half a volt spikes on top of a 13 volts signal, 13 volts DC, and it was spiking up to 14 volts, 14 and a half volts. It was making quite an effect on things. So that was a problem. Just telling you that because if you ever have one of these devices for sending the internet over the mains, be wary. They don't work out well with CB radios. But this is about microphones. I've had quite a few microphones over the years, as we all have. We're always searching for the perfect microphone. And in the 60s, I used to have an ex-government wireless set number 19, and that originally came with a hand mic, which you had to absolutely scream into because it was designed to be used in a tank in battle time. So I put a desk mic on it. I think it was called a BM3 or something at the time, a shiny black desk mic, and I felt quite pleased with myself. But that's what I had in the 60s, desk mic. Then in the 70s I got very posh. I got a KW2000A transceiver, and with that I had a Shure microphone, because when you bought transceivers at that time, you didn't get microphones with them, and the ultimate microphone for the amateur radio operator back then was the Shure 444 desk mic. So of course I bought one of those in the 70s and I was very pleased with it. Later in the 80s I went Japanese, and I got an ICOM 751, and that was the first radio that actually came with a microphone. All the others you had to buy mics separately, but that came with a microphone, a little tiny ICOM microphone, which we'll come back to in a bit. And of course now I've got the DX5000, which is the same as the 6900s. I refer to it as a CRT Superstar 6900 because that's what it is, but it's just branded as DX5000. And of course the microphone that comes with it, the standard mic, as we all know with the 6900s, is this horrible tiny little thing. Very small, very horrible, and it weighs very little. Let's see what it weighs. Come on scales. 127 grams. Horrible, horrible. Anyway, I just don't like it. It seems to work all right, but it just feels toy in your hand after many years of using X-Pi PMR equipment with Pi microphones, or the SG Brown microphones that came with them. this feels very, very tiny and right. But this is what it sounds like.
I'm now going to test one or two microphones plugged into my 6900 style radio and see how they sound. This is the perfectly original standard microphone that comes with these radios, and this is what it sounds like. Perfectly standard 6900 radio, very, very tiny. I think that's the main complaint I have about this. Not what it sounds like, but what it feels like. I mean, it just doesn't feel like a microphone. Microphone, you expect it to be sort of big and solid in your hand, but there is a weight to it. But this doesn't have that kind of feel. It's more like a toy. Oh, this is it. This is a perfectly standard radio microphone, the normal standard microphone that comes with the 6900s, and this is what it sounds like. So now move on to another microphone.
Right. Now we go on to the next microphone. This is another microphone which I've got, and this one feels lovely. This feels really nice in my hand. Got a nice feel to it, a nice weight to it. It's a Shure, what is it? Shure 596LB. Sadly, they've gone out of production. This was the last of the handheld mics that Shure made, which were, you know, great for transceiver use. Won't work with any CB transceiver because, like a lot of the professional stuff, when you key it, it keys up the transmitter, but it doesn't have circuitry for connecting the loudspeaker. Whereas the CB equipment, a lot of CB equipment, you have to have an extra switch, don't you, to switch in the loudspeaker when you're on receive, otherwise you hear nothing. The 6900s are the exception. You can unplug the mic from a 6900 and still listen on it, but a lot of CBs you can't. Anyway, this is the Shure 596LB. It's a good handful, and it's 259 grams, so much heavier and a really good feel to it compared to the standard mic that comes with the 6900, and this is what it sounds like.
This is a Shure microphone. Sadly, you don't seem to see these around very much these days, but this is a Shure 596LB, which is a really nice, solid, heavy hand microphone. But they've stopped making them. It's a great pity, but Shure no longer make them. You really can't go wrong with Shure products. If you have a Shure microphone, they really are well built and built to last. And that's what they say about this one. It's got a lovely stretch cord on it, lovely feel to it. You just cannot fault it. I love this microphone, but sadly, no longer available, no longer in production.
This is a nice microphone which I've recently got. This is an ICOM HM148G. Now this one is still in production, unlike the other. When you get it, it comes with the RJ45, what I call a telephone style plug on it. And I had to take that off, remove that very carefully, and fitted the 4-pin connector to try it on the 6900. See what it sounds like. And this is really, I find this actually a little bit too big. Whereas the Shure, because I've only got small hands, and the Shure fit my hands perfectly. This one is more for your trucker, because it's you know, a man with big hands, not little dainty hands like I've got. And it weighs 239 grams. So it's got a really good weight to it. It's a big microphone, a solid, very, very strong. Probably last a lifetime, a good stretch cord on it. And this is what it sounds like.
Now this is a good solid microphone that is still in production. This is made by ICOM, and it's an ICOM HM-148G, and these are still very much in production. It's even bigger than the Shure microphone. I find it a little bit too big for my hands, but it's a really good sounding microphone, and good looking, well built, solid. And of course you can still get them. The ICOM HM-148G.
And finally, this is another little microphone which I really taken to. I like this one. As you have seen from the photographs at the very beginning, this is what I had with my ICOM transceiver in the 80s. In the 80s, the ones with the ICOM was absolutely identical to this in every way, and it was called an ICOM SM2. This is an SM6. They look exactly the same. I'd love to know what the difference is if anybody knows, but it used to be an ICOM SM6 in the 80s, which came with my ICOM 751. But you can on eBay get these second hand. There's one or two of them around. They're fetching good prices because they're quite scarce, and you can get the SM2s and the SM6s. This is the SM6. I really like this microphone. I like the sound of it personally. And you'll hear it in a moment. You can get more recent ICOM desk mics as well, but the more recent ones have up and down buttons on them, and to wire those into a 6900, it starts getting a little bit complicated. I really wouldn't want to be bothered. It can be done, but I wouldn't want to be bothered. But this is what I use now on the 6900, and it weighs, oh, switch on, see what it weighs. Not that it matters. 272 grams. But this is an electret microphone, and so therefore it will only work with the latest 6900 style radios, because on the latest models of these radios, in the menu setting, you can set it for a dynamic microphone or an electret microphone in the options. And so that's very, very handy, because you can get a radio like this, which is an electret, which needs power from the radio to work it, because it's a sort of power mic with a knob underneath to turn the power up. So you set your 6900 to electret mode and plug one of these in, and I think it works really well. But this is what it sounds like.
Now this is another microphone which I rather like. This again is built by ICOM. Got a train going past now. I always get noises, don't I? This is made by ICOM. A little tiny ICOM desk mic, the ICOM SM-6. It's out of production sadly, but you do get them popping up on eBay from time to time. It's also got a little knob underneath for turning up the gain if it's not right. But I'm doing all these with the same setting on my 6900. This one is an electret microphone though, so it tends to sound a bit more high pitched than the dynamic microphones. And only the very latest model of the 6900 radios will handle these. So if you've got one of the older 6900s, you can't use this microphone. But on the very latest, they do have a setting in the options menu to turn on an electret microphone, and that's what this sounds like, an ICOM SM6 electret microphone. You can get more recent versions of these from ICOM, but they tend to have up and down buttons on them, and that complicates life, because then to try and wire an up and down button to work on a 6900, I just couldn't be bothered. So that's the ICOM SM6 microphone.
So that's what all four microphones sounded like. And if anyone's following the adventures of the noisy seagulls, which I've got on my roof here, they're now about 2.5 weeks old, and one of them made its first attempt at flying. It wasn't entirely successful. Here's a photograph of it attempting to take off. It did its best. It managed a couple of foot or so, but it hasn't really got its feathers yet. It's just got the hint of baby feathers starting to grow, but it really hasn't got any feathers yet, and it's got no tail feathers. So it did its best. It managed to sort of manage about 2 foot, but that was coming down the slope of the roof. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this little video showing you my microphone tests, and I'll see what I come up with next. Thanks for watching.